Hi, welcome to Navigating the Truth. It is August 20th, and I am solo today, and I talk about ancient
I can't hear
Scotland.
you, but you
Enjoy
can
the
hear
show.
me, right?
We interrupt to bring you this.
We've hijacked your daily dose of regurgitated news to bring you Navigating the Truth. Brace yourself, listeners, as you're about to enter a world where the narrative is no longer masqueraded as the truth. A world where the conspiracies of yesterday's translate into the truths of today.
Are you listening?
The veils covering the truth are lifting, and understandings once suppressed are finally being revealed. Will you be ready? And now, your host and navigator through these circles of lies, the host of Navigating the Truth, Caroline Bell Tumblety.
Hi, welcome to Navigating the Truth. It is Sunday, and it is the 20th of August, and wow, we are flying through this year. And I would like to thank all the listeners who choose to listen in to the show. Thank you so much. And I would say grab your tea, your coffee, your water, settle down. There is a donate button on KCR Radio's webpage. If you like what you're hearing, click the donate button. There is also the Dark Vault. There is so many wonderful shows, hosts, guests. There's something here for everybody, for sure. So, I would say check it out. Check out the whole website. Have a look. And there's also, there's mugs. There's all kinds of things. And, what do you call them? Mouse pads, I think, and blankets. There's a lot of stuff. So, yep, my website is up. It is souliam.org. And my email is caroline@souliam.org. And I have a YouTube channel. I have 25 subscribers, people. Woohoo. Thank you, everybody. And that is Caroline Bell Tumblety. That's my YouTube. I have Facebook, Caroline Bell Tumblety. Don't use Facebook. Maybe twice a week I go in there. And if you do leave me a message, I do get it. I do check it. I check it a couple of times a week. And that's all that business taken care of. And today I went out. It's been a really nice day here. It's not too warm, and the breeze is actually really, really mild. The sun has been shining. Went for a walk with my nephew. We went around the beach, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I don't know, how do when you see the sun hitting the water, the way that it glistens, I just love it. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to make me happy, I'll tell you. And I had such a good day with him. We were exploring. I think they call it the Seafield. I've actually I had put a picture of it up on my Facebook a few months back. They painted it this barn red, like that red color for barns or brick, and it's got turrets, and it's a massive big building, and I don't know, maybe 250 years old, maybe it might even be older than that. And we were walking around it the day, and there's all these different buildings. There was a building in the back, and it's all walled in, but it's been just left to kind of fall apart. The municipals here, I don't know why they do that, whatever happens to the building, it stops operating. And that was a school at one point. It was a residential school. It was for city kids, to come to the seaside, for the summer. It was seen as a kind of healthy thing. Thing was, there was a lot of abuse going on in that building that they pretty much tried to bury. And I think if they just left the building to rot, everybody would forget. But people don't really forget that stuff, I don't. I write it down. I keep notes of it all, especially when I come across stuff, because you know how they like to burn books, they like to burn maps, they like to get rid of any kind of anything that would actually give you a truthful picture, maybe how the world was at some point in given history. The fact that they messed around with the calendars, like every time you turned around, there was a different calendar system in place, and also how they wrote dates. There was something really interesting here where they would put the letter I and then the year. But what has happened through time is people are interpreting that. See, like for an instance, they would have like I-719. So it would look like 1719, right? That the building was actually erected. But that's not the truth. It's not a one, it's an I. And it has something to do with their calendars. And so you're looking at a building that is basically 719, and then you get to your BCs and all the rest of it that they will put in, and like the Egyptian calendar, like as you look at the dynasties and stuff, it looks like that's gone backwards, with their time frames. There was something I had came across, and it had to do with how the Egyptians kept time. And this one just went like in the filing cabinet in my mind. And they were basically saying that they thought that the way that it was being calculated, they weren't talking years. They were actually talking moon cycles, which would change everything. Yeah, because like what is a moon? Every 4 weeks, like, and you get 13 of them in a year. So, I mean, that's quite a big difference if it was not a year but a month. So that's just one that I've got like kind of filed in the back of my head with a question mark on it. As I look for more more evidence, like to kind of back up that theory that just kind of hangs around there. Because I don't know, I think there might be something to that. In some accounts, know them all, but in some, like especially when it came to like when they mentioned like in the Bible, for instance, somebody lived like 300,000 years or something like that. Maybe they're talking moons and not years. Like maybe they're referring to months. I don't know. I'm no like I'm not really clear on it, but it's definitely something to think about because they certainly did mess around with the calendars. And like academia, I mean, if everything is kind of been off like by a few hundred years, basically we're looking at things and they're not in the time frame that we think. Like whenever people would try to search out King Arthur, right? There's one that we all know. And the dates, like I mean, when you're talking about famous people like Jesus, there's got to be a record, some kind of record somewhere. These people can't be on the planet, in this realm, and live the kind of lives that we have been told without there being some kind of record. And there have been some really great academics. Ralph Ellis is one of them. Like he's done some really really good work, and he's came up against a lot of flack for it. Like but he's more than able to take on the other academics and kind of stand his ground. He was the one where I discovered like he ties in the whole Egyptian with Jesus. Cleopatra and Mark Antony are supposedly like it would maybe be like the great 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 grandmother of Jesus, like with the time frames. So I mean, he's put a whole bunch of books. So he believes that this was a strategy move with Egypt, where they had the wealth, but they didn't really have the army. They didn't really have a military. So it was a very strategic and also an insurance, the continuity of their species would be like to actually have Romans like introduced into the bloodline. So to make it more formidable. I don't know. Like, I mean, these are things that, like, these are these are great conversations. You know, the what ifs. But like, let's go back to Arthur. And one of the things that I mean, growing up here, like there were stories that would be told to me as a child, and they were these like Robert the Bruce, William Wallace, like these were our heroes. But I was always left with the feeling that that I was living in a land that had been defeated, that most of our heroes had been murdered and executed in horrendous ways, like William Wallace. I mean, Hollywood had a field day with that one, with Braveheart. And I'll tell you, like, I watched it and I cry. There's a scene in it where he walks into the tent and all the villagers are hanging inside this dwelling, and every time, and I mean, I might have seen that maybe 5 times. Every time that scene, I just a ball. So there's something about that that triggers something in me, you know. Like what would you say? Like disasters, traumatic events, like wars. Like there's just certain things that I have become very stubborn about. And one of the things is history. I've become very, very stubborn about the written history that has been handed down to us. And I'm not saying that the people who wrote the history weren't they clever, smart, intelligent, well versed, and had access to things that the regular populace didn't. You know, most of the population, like you had to have an income for one thing, like to even be allowed or able to send your kids to school, like to even learn to read and write. And this is now we are supposed to have been here like millions of years, right? Like we have all these stones, the Rosetta Stone, like there's all these stones and hieroglyphs, petroglyphs, like where the people who were here were leaving some kind of record, some kind of account, or maybe they were just carving the initials into something. I don't really know, you know, like, but for there to be so little, you know, and the reasons that are given is like the fire, like at Alexandria, like the library. We know that there's a lot of manuscripts and scrolls, ancient, stored in the Vatican. That nobody, I mean, that seemed to be one of the things. Like when they did a pilgrimage to somewhere to kind of Christianize them, they would take all their books, you know, all their written or even their verbal. Like a lot of them had like a verbal history and would tell the stories around the campfire. These stories were written, you know, these stories were written down and stored. So I don't believe that it's all gone. You know, I don't believe that it's impossible to actually. They have definitely scrambled everything, like to the point where the ones that we think were the good guys were probably the bad guys, and the ones that we thought were the bad guys were probably the good guys. Like it's kind of come down to that. And when I look at the history of Scotland, like back to like the growing up and the feeling that I had, like it was like this that something had been taken from us, you know, like and I don't particularly look Scottish. I mean, I'm fair, but even when I lived in America, I was constantly asked if I was a Scandinavian. Like I was constantly being asked if I was from Sweden or Switzerland or like, and you know, there was a time when I was traveling. I was on a boat and I was traveling from France to Dover, and the crew on the boat and I was maybe all of maybe 21, 22. The crew on the boat kept asking me if I was Italian. I don't sound Italian. But when I speak, I tend to wave my hands around. So I don't know if it was like they recognize that as a like an expression, like when Italian people talk, like they use their hands. I don't know, but I kind of thought that was odd, and I looked at the person who asked me, and I was like, "Why do you think I'm Italian? Like, what is it about me that you think is Italian?" And he went, "You look like the people in the north of Italy." And I thought that's really interesting, but I never gave it much thought to much later in my life. And when I was living in New York, I would say in the first year that I lived there, I would introduce myself. People would ask me my name, and I would say, "My name is Caroline." And they would look at me and they would go, "Catalina?" And I would look at them and go, "No, Caroline." "Oh, Catalina." And I'm like, why did, I didn't quite understand why what I was saying was sounding different. And that happened a lot. I mean, it wasn't just a one-off. That maybe happened to me maybe 3 times where somebody thought I was saying Catalina. And I was like, no. And I had picked up a book the first year that I was in America, and it was called America BC. And I'll never forget this book. This book was incredible. This book talked about finding in the Grand Canyon like Egyptian caravans, like Indian caravans, like all kinds of all around the world, and that it had been kind of blocked off. I don't remember the guy's name, but there was even an old newspaper article where he had done quite a bit of like exploring in the Grand Canyon, and he had found stuff. He definitely found stuff. And that was another thing. Supposedly it just kind of got like kind of buried some in some archive somewhere. And so when I had read that book, wondered, I wonder if there's a Scotland BC book, like I wonder if there's a whole bunch of these kind of books cutting around there. And before I go into that, like the other thing about America, when I lived there, there was times when I would become incredibly homesick, and it was for like the sound of people's voices. Like there was something that I would really kind of want to, just connect with, like, and so I would look for Highland games, and where they would be, I would go. And there was one when we lived in Rhinebeck. It would come in September, and it would just come one day on a Sunday, and I would go there, and I would be so happy. I would be good for another year. I would be in a sea of voices of people who sounded like me. It was just. But you know what was really surprising? Like I would visit they would have these groups like these Highland lodges, and I would visit their wee tents. The amount of history that they knew that I knew nothing about was astounding. They had so much information about the history of Scotland that we didn't have. Living in Scotland, growing up in Scotland, we had no access to it. There wasn't any access to it in school. We were being taught, we got a lot of English history in school, and we like I remember being told about the battles that we lost. Like that was yeah, it was really really interesting. There was not a lot of information available for us here living in Scotland. But what had happened in America is like the people who had went there, face Scotland, maybe took some of their information with them or retained it, wrote it down. Like I know that Albert Pike was a big he kept a lot of the records, like the church records, the genealogy, like of certain families. Like, that stuff was now in America. But the thing was, it was readily available, which was amazing. I mean, I found out things about certain parts, different parts of the family. I mean, my Granda Bell, his name was William Bell. And I could never find anything on the history. Like, anytime I tried to build, like, the ancestor.com or whatever, I would, like, hit these dead ends. Like, with the family, I would not be able to find anything. And I got in touch with one of the Highland lodges in New York that had the Bell clan. And the amount of information that this gentleman gave me was unbelievable. He was able to trace William Bell. There was a William Bell that fought in the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and his name was William Bell Redcloak. That was his name. And once I got, like, some of, like, the names and the places and where they were, it became easier for me to kind of trace things. But for the longest time, I mean, I remember my cousin, when we were younger, he started to try and do a family tree. I remember him looking at me and going, we were either tending sheep. He said, if we really want to do it, and he says, it doesn't even look like we were involved in any of the battles or anything. He says, we were farmers. I don't even think we learned how to read and write. Like, he says, until, like, maybe 50 years ago, we kind of caught on. So that just shows you how hard it was to piece things together. It's got easier. I think lockdown kind of done something. The internet definitely done, like, a whole lot, where people were able to trace each other. Like, you were able to trace long lost family members. I mean, we had family members that basically disappeared and nobody ever heard from them again. And I remember when I was going to America, my wee granny said, like, she had a brother that had went to New York and nobody ever heard from him again. And his last name was Brown. And she was like, see if you can find anything about him. I mean, they didn't, like, when you grow up in Scotland, you don't really have a concept of America until you're actually there. Like, sure, you can watch the movies, you can get ideas, but you have no idea until you actually get there at the actual size of the place. Like, how absolutely you can drive all day and still no see a house. Like, that's not that this country, like, is built on everything. Everything at one point or another has been built on. Like, so there's not a whole lot of driving for days. You would hit the water. You wouldn't be able to do it here. You might be able to go for the very north of Scotland all the way down maybe to the tip, like Dover. No, it would actually be Cornwall, Devon. That would take you maybe the day, but it wouldn't take you all day. You know, it would maybe take you 12 hours, maybe 15 at most. So, I think that was a motorbike just went by. I hope that everybody didn't hear that. We're coming up on a break and, like, be back in 3 minutes, listeners. Okay.
You're listening to Navigating the Truth with Caroline Bell Tumblety, where the truth survives and the lies are exposed.
I just want to assure you that everything is under control. There's been no damage except for some temporary malfunction of the radio.
Come be a part of this awakening by joining us in chat or by calling our hotline at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers, find us on Skype at KCOR Radio.
We're pushing the ultimate frontier here.
Control must be maintained.
More disinformation exposed and the truth discovered. After a word from our sponsors.
1 million miles till midnight. A story of timelines, artificial worlds, simulated races, and the galactic imprint. And the destiny of a blue world called Earth. 1,000,000 Miles Till Midnight, written by Solaris Blue Raven, is a journey through the mind's eye which allows the reader to surf a wave of technological and multidimensional intellect, revealing a bridge between conscious design and the truth. A multidimensional bleed-through awakens the world of artificial intelligence to set sail into the frontiers of a vast multiverse, morphing planets and terraforming ascended worlds beyond the linear programs of a fated race. 1,000,000 Miles Till Midnight will awaken, inspire, prepare, and enlighten one to the many multidimensional states of consciousness and worlds we reside in. With every cell and atom, we are this truth and multiverse. 1,000,000 Miles Till Midnight, written by Solaris Blue Raven. Available now at Amazon.com. Don't wait. Get your copy today.
1, 2, 3, 4!
To the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
I love the way it sounds.
Love the music. I listen all day.
The future of radio is here and now.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Change your frequency, change your life with the Lemurian Plug. The Lemurian Plug is easy to control, simple to set up, and wireless. It helps to neutralize toxins and has restorative frequencies for healing. It also helps to protect you and your family from EMFs. The Lemurian Plug is energy efficient and designed using ancient technology for a superior design. One unit can cover up to 1,000 square feet. This life-changing product is reasonably priced. And isn't your family's health worth a small investment? For more information on the miraculous effects of this plug or to purchase the Lemurian Plug, visit thelemurianplug.com. That's thelemurianplug.com. The Lemurian Plug is like nothing you've ever experienced. Order yours today.
Vegas, baby! Vegas' #1 source for talk and new music.
How cool is that?
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Navigating the Truth, the one show that peels back the masks of the elite and exposes the truth we're not being told.
Here to warn you.
You must not abuse the power you've been given. Eventually, you will lose control of that power and the whole world will suffer.
Come partake in the awakening by calling the show at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Those around the world, connect with us on Skype at KCOR Radio. Follow us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Come engage in the discussion live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com.
Our survival depends upon it.
Now, back to examining the narratives and uncovering the truth with your host of Navigating the Truth, Caroline Bell Tumblety. Caroline Bell Tumblety.
Hi, welcome back to Navigating the Truth, and I hope you grabbed your tea, your coffee. And I was talking about how I discovered more about Scotland while living in America, and that is the truth. That is the truth. But what it happened was it also made me search out certain books. Like I started looking for certain things that I wanted to know about. Like I had come across a writing that basically what they were saying was that Geoffrey Mammoth, who was the one who wrote about King Arthur and his round table and the knights. And some of his information came from records, but a lot of it was fluff for the story. But there was also there was a few of them that made an attempt to tell the story of Arthur, which is like, no, this is supposedly one of the most famous kings that these Isles ever knew, right? And yet we scramble. We have to make up stories like in order to even tell his story. So yeah, I came across this paper, and what this paper was saying was they did not believe that King Arthur was Welsh, because that has been the accepted interpretation. The literal records that we can find, like there's still a lot of people that even contest that he was an actual person. So this, what I had came across was basically saying that the Gaelic Welsh, the Welsh Gaelic and the Scottish Gaelic are very similar. And the places that they were referring to, it was assumed early on that they were talking about Welsh, like towns and rivers and whatnot. But according to this paper that I read, they were saying, these are actually in Scotland. And they would break it down, like they would break down the wording and they would like show the interpretations. And this same person, like there's not even a name on the paper that I had found. It was like a genealogical section that I'd came across on Scottish history, and talks about Guinevere, like that there seems to be a bunch of different Gwens, like that kind of show up in different records. So the one that I had read basically describes her as she has strange ways. And she likes to keep the heads of her enemies in jars. Now that's no the Guinevere that I kind of grew up like believing. Also, it is mentioned that she was a Celtic priestess. And there was a movie made. I remember there was a movie made, and it was Guinevere, and it showed her like she was a warrior. And yeah, I think that movie might have had some of this story in it. There was and I know that I'm going to tie this right into like the place that I visited today with my nephew. The way that they spoke about Gwen, that Guinevere's coat of arms bore 3 doves. These doves represented her religious beliefs of St. Julian. Throughout the next 15 years or so, Gwen is held as a ruthless queen. She feared nothing or no one. And this was like somebody writing down like that she was more like she was compared like to Queen, the pronunciation of this Boadicea, Boudica. She's quite the famous Celtic queen. Like so that story of Gwen kind of spilled air into Boadicea. And the Arthur story also spills into different kings. And it becomes like a giant jigsaw puzzle and you're trying to figure out. And then like when they change like the calendars and the years become different, it's like, what the heck? And when I mentioned this coat of arms, when we were visiting the Seacrest, which is it's a really old building, there's different there's writings on it. Like there's Latin writing. There's they've got really odd what would you call them? There's a sheep on one of them. Like these are like reliefs like that have been carved into the red sandstone. There's like it looks like a sheep at one end, and then there's just like an armored arm and hand that has like what do you call them? That cuts the barley and the wheat. A scythe, is that it? Yeah, it's a scythe. Like usually you see a depiction of death. He's carrying the big scythe to like so that's on one of these stone reliefs, and it's almost like the hand is chasing the sheep, the way that it looks. And then we moved around to the other side, and there's these shields, like these coat of arms that are right in front of the building. And this coat of arms that is right the centerpiece has 3 doves on one side, or 3 birds, whatever you want to say. Like they're definitely birds. And then below it, it has 3 stars. Again, like what is the 3 stars? You know, is that Orion's belt? Is that 3 wise men? Like, I mean, are the Trinity? You know, like there's so much representation with the 3, the goddess, you know, the triple goddess. And then there is a stag at the top. There's a fish on the other side. And I think the other one, oh yeah, right in the middle is the like the armor, the helmet. Like I'm sure that some of you have seen like the coats of arms that will have the empty like helmet right at the top. And I came across somebody giving a lecture many moons ago, and it was what that represented. What did that helmet, that piece of armor, what did it represent? Why was it just the head? You know, like what does that represent? And it was actually represents John the Baptist. Now, why? You know, like why when everybody was crusading for Christianity and the crucifixion of Jesus? So why is there a depiction that it's kind of secret amongst maybe the Templars that this represents John the Baptist? Because there is a thread that runs through antiquity that hints that John the Baptist might have actually have been. Hi, you have been listening to, thank you for listening to Navigating the Truth. If you would like to hear this show in its entirety, please go to kcurradio.com, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.